we get 50 people to sign up on Rumble, that would be great because then I can live stream to Rumble as well. Because very soon, very quickly, I will probably get censorship canceled here. So, today, being live, um, the reason that we're live is this is a warm up to the big game coming up on September 21st. September 21st is our first announced date where people will be kind of focused on being here. And that live is scheduled for 10 a.m. September 21st, 2024. So, on today's episode, um, I wanted to take a step back and start a little bit from the beginning for for some of you people who are new, because the types of things that we're discussing here on this podcast are as deep and as complicated that you can get, just by virtue of the fact that we are in an information war right now. And I wanted to paint kind of a bigger picture for people to understand where we are, why we're here, and where we're headed from here. So, we we began to talk about devolution and what does it mean to the selection for 2024. And when I say the selection of 2024, is that it's because we do not right now elect our public officials because of wide spread cheating. And so, for those of you who think that we elect our officials, nothing could be further from the truth. But in the information warfare campaign that we're dealing with, they have convinced most people, which I believed up until probably 4 years ago, that we had real elections and that our quote unquote real elections gave us real results. But nothing could be further from the truth. I have awakened since then, and I can figure out, you know, a lot of the lies that are coming through the information warfare that the mainstream media and mainstream press tries to shove down our throat and get us to believe. So, the first thing that we're going to hit is what we started to talk about on the last episode, is this process called devolution. And I had shared with you that one video with Patrick Gunnels, where Patrick Gunnels read part one of the Devolution series by John Harold, who goes by the handle name Patel Patriot. And John Harold, Patel Patriot, figured out a long time ago, like 4 years ago, I think about now. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. He figured out that the military and Trump devolved our government into what they call a continuity of government operation. And I want to encourage everybody to listen to the entire series or read the entire series. Patrick Gunnels does a great job of narrating it. But it's very deep, it's very detailed, but the amount of material that's in there for knowledge is just off the charts. When I got done reading and listening to those series, I felt stupid when I sat back and I figured out that people like John Harold, and he had some help from other people, pulled together the pieces of a devolved government. And Trump and the military, when we got attacked with the COVID virus back in March of 2020, Trump and the military were obligated to respond. But it wasn't just COVID. COVID wasn't the only issue. We have child sex trafficking, we have arms dealers, we have drug cartels. The United States of America is at war on many, many fronts with those people, those treasonous bastards who seek to destroy our country. So I'm going to stop and just talk about specifically people like George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton. These people, they're all New World Order globalists, okay? And I readily admit today, I'm ashamed to have supported George W. Bush because I had no idea that his family were drug lords, that funneled drugs through the Middle East and used Iran-Contra to protect, their drug cartel. But let's get into Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, and I want to talk about the 16-year plan, okay? Because unless you understand the 16-year plan, then you won't necessarily understand why the military in Trump had to devolve our government in a classified secret way in order to take this fight to the battlefield against these people. So the 16-year plan and the Reader's Digest version, basically it was Obama's mission to begin decimating the United States military in his first 8 years in office. After he was done, then he would hand off the ball to Hillary Clinton, and then Hillary Clinton would finish off the military in her 8 years. And they were doing this by getting rid of patriotic, God-fearing military generals and admirals and colonels and sergeants and basically trying to bring in woke minions who would basically make the United States military completely incompetent or completely eradicate the ability of the military to fight against an information war. Okay, so now you have to take a look at war, and you have to change your mindset about what war is and what war means and what it can look like. The war that I'm talking about is an information war. And in previous podcasts, I had basically taken you and shown you the irregular warfare unit that the United States military has. And I showed you in one of the last podcasts that the whole Afghanistan withdrawal, that was just information warfare. That was a decoy, and it was used in this information war. But that withdrawal from Afghanistan, if you look at it, the people climbing on this big balloon plane, and it's just it's really comical. Okay, but if you see it on TV, because of the fact that you're not looking at the details, you might think that that was true. Which I did the first time I saw it on TV. I'm like, oh wow, look at all these people. They're dying to get out of Afghanistan. Now that was just a reverse military psyop that Trump and the military needed to. It's part of the battle. It's part of the war of information warfare. So you had this 8-year plan, okay, that Obama and Hillary, just puppets of the New World Order. These people have no real power in of themselves. They're just useful idiots for the satanic power brokers that have run the world for centuries. So devolution. What devolution means is the devolution means that we are probably under martial law in a classified fashion, which means you're not going to hear about it from ABC or NBC or Fox News. Okay, the only way that you're going to hear about devolution and the martial law that Trump and the military had to install because of this information war and the attack on our elections, the child sex trafficking, all these different fronts of battle and war that Trump and the military are fighting, they had their best option was to devolve the government, okay, and to let things play out so that we didn't have a civil war where, Trump very easily could have marched in and said, "Hey, listen, we have all the evidence. Here it is. The military has it. The military shows us all the evidence. Put these treasonous bastards behind bars or hang them or whatever we need to do and move on." But the military knew that would lead to some type or some level of civil war in our country. And so, therefore, they had to take a different tact. And in the Q post, and we talked about Q, the Q plan, which the military and Trump are executing. In the Q plan, they talk about the fact that you can't tell people the truth. What you have to do is you have to show them the truth. So the past 4 years almost has been reversed psyops against the deep state, where Trump and the military are showing people what they had intended to do because they couldn't tell the people what they intended to do. So Trump and the military, they devolved the government. I believe that the military is in control and they are running things behind the scenes. Technically, is Trump commander in chief of the armed forces? Probably, and I believe that's true. And Joe Biden, or who I say and I think is the fake Joe Biden, I think the Joe Biden that is out there, I think he's wearing a mask, because I know that from a lot of good credible information that Joe Biden, because of his treason, was executed around 2019. So we're going to learn more about that. We're going to learn more about a lot of these deep state traders that have been going through classified military tribunals, and the military has dealt with tens of thousands of these people already. But they can't put it in the public purview just yet. But that's what's coming very shortly in the next 6 weeks. So that's the devolution component of it. And we're going to study more about devolution. We're going to be going into some depth on the devolution, because you need to know and understand that because we're under devolution, and because of the fact that Space Force in the military, they have all of the evidence of the crimes in the election from 2020. There's Supreme Court cases where the Brunson brothers are suing members of Congress, senators and congresspeople who certified the election in a treasonous fashion. That's going to be coming to the fore here very, very soon. I think I heard something this week about one of the lawsuits is against some of the Supreme Court members themselves, which creates an interesting situation. Is that if one of the cases that the Brunson brothers have before the Supreme Court, and they're suing 1, 2, or 3 of the Supreme Court justices, they automatically get recused because they're the defendant in the lawsuit that the Brunson brothers have at the Supreme Court level. So they can't even vote on their own fate because of the fact that these gentlemen are suing the very Supreme Court members that were complicit in the election theft of 2020. So we have Supreme Court cases, we have devolution, and as I assert, and because of the fact that the 2020 election was stolen, and if Space Force and the military has the evidence to prove that, then the debates and the advertising and everything that we're seeing on TV it's really just hocus pocus, because none of it matters, because there's not going to be an election in 2024 because they have to fix 2020. I submit to you that because of the fact that they stole the 2020 election, the 2024, no election, 2022, 2024, I don't care, from here to eternity, if they're stealing elections, they don't matter because they're selecting, we're not electing. So that's the context that you have to look at everything that you see over the next 6 weeks. You have to put a set of lenses on your eyes and on your intuition and say, okay, wait a minute. Everything that I see and everything I hear, I have to look at everything based upon the filter of devolution. That behind the scenes, Trump and the military are running things behind the scenes so that anything that you see in the public purview, it doesn't even matter. The only thing that matters is that what happens when we get into the events coming up, World War III scenario, the stock market crash scenario, the United States fiat fake dollar, of them bringing in and flooding the United States of America with, just tons and tons of dollars, which will crash our currency. And just as a little side note to the crash in the currency, I just randomly, I was listening to talk radio here locally, And I heard this woman, it was on the Brian Kilmeade show, and I heard this woman talk about the fact that she was laughing at the fact that Russia was buying physical U.S. dollars, not electronic dollars, but physical dollar bills from Rwanda. Okay, and she just kind of laughed it off, and she kind of laughed off the fact that that our currency could ever go south. But I laughed because I looked at it through the lens of knowing that I've heard that there's foreign countries that are going to flood our country with our own worthless U.S. dollars, and that's going to crash our currency. So you've got World War III that we're looking for. We've got the stock market crash that we're looking for, and we're looking at our currency crash. Okay, that's going to scare the shit out of everybody when that happens, because everything that they idolized, everything that they worshiped their 401k, they worshiped how much money they had in the stock market, they worshiped how much money they had in the bank. Well, all of that is going to come crashing down, and it's going to be in a heap at their feet. And at that point in time, they're going to have nowhere to turn, seemingly. There'll be somewhere to turn, but we'll talk about that later. But each and every man, woman, and child in the United States of America is suddenly going to come instantaneously to the end of themselves and their false prophets and this fictitious matrix world that they built for us to believe in. It all comes crashing down instantaneously within the next 6 weeks. So what this podcast is trying to do, it's trying to educate everybody who's listening and say, all right, listen, this is what's coming. You need to know about it so that you don't lose your mind when you see it happen, because at the end of the day, we win. Not to say it's not going to get ugly and bloody. There's going to be some the nastiest things that you've ever seen are going to become full view, full public disclosure right in front of your face. So I want to take the time for this live in this episode of the podcast just to recap the things that are coming and the fact that we are in a devolved government. Those people down in Washington, D.C. right now, ever since Trump devolved the government, anything that they're doing in Washington, D.C. makes absolutely no difference whatsoever for us moving forward. And you're going to see the byproduct of that coming up here very soon. So we'll watch and see. We'll see how it unfolds. But these are the important things that you need to know to move forward. And so on the next live episode, we're going to get in depth into some of the background information that a great Substack writer, Joe Lang, has put together. So be looking out for that. And at that brings us to the conclusion of this live. And again, please like, please subscribe, please share my videos. And I also want my audience to know that before the storm and after the 10 days of darkness, we'll talk about the 10 days of darkness. There's probably going to be about a 10-day period where there won't be any internet. They're going to be doing the mass arrests, and I won't be able to be live for that 10-day period. But the period leading up to that, when it starts to get ugly and nasty, I'm planning on being live 16 hours a day. We'll have 10 days that will be shut down, but then when everything gets turned back on, I plan on being live 16 hours a day when things get turned back on. So consider yourself more awake today than when you woke up this morning. And thank you for joining me. I appreciate you viewing my stuff, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon. Thank you.
All right, we still are live. Do you want to cut into the next episode then?
Yes. Yep. Okay. Okay. So cutting into the next episode right now. Badlands Media, as you can see on our screen right here, on the top heading, it says Badlands Media, which is they're a new media company that has got writers and contributors and all that news and real information. This particular article was written by Joe Lang, just as you can see here, September 10th, 2024. And Joe Lang is a remarkably intelligent person. I love his writing. I'm going to be sharing more of his writing with you. Okay. But I had to pause and stop just at this photo right here. Okay. And if you look at this photo, you notice that Obama can't even look Trump in the eye. And I want you to realize, and I want you to understand why he can't look Trump directly in the eye. The reason he can't is because of the fact that Donald Trump was prepared by God Almighty to be the front man for the Q operation to destroy the deep state as they execute the Q plan. Okay? So Trump, he's gone into the lion's den, okay? And these people are deathly afraid of Trump. Why do you think they're trying to assassinate him? Why do you think they've tried to impeach him, 22 times? Non-stop. Donald Trump said, I'll gladly take the slings and arrow for you, the American people. Why? Because this is beyond life and death for Donald Trump. This is the life and death of humanity. Will humanity fall into slavery under the New World Order and transhumanism and AI and all these satanic plans that the elitists, the New World Order, the Illuminati had planned for the people of the earth, depopulation to 500,000 people, or 500 million. I think it's 500 million. There's 8 billion people on the planet, and they they want to depopulate us to 500 million people so that they have enough minions and serfs, to provide for them. But I just want to make that comment about this photo right here. Obama can't even look Trump in the eye because of the fact that he knows why Trump is here and he knows what Trump is about to do. So I'm going to start reading this article here, and we're going to begin to delve into some of the players who there are. So John McCain was not a war hero. He was a traitor. In my last article, I laid out a lot more evidence of John McCain's treason. I offered evidence from Q that he was removed from the chessboard on the very day that Q said would be, exactly 30 days after Q posted this drop showing McCain with his hands up and predicting that he would come back into the headlines. Q drop number 1706 on July 25th, and those brackets are what they call the kill box. On July 25th, 2018 at 7:28 p.m., okay? You see where Q posted that? No name. Q didn't even like saying it. This bastard is such a traitor and such a scumbag that Q wouldn't even use his name. So they gave him a nickname. They called him No Name. And Q says, No Name returning to the headlines? But there's more. Don't miss these Q proofs that McCain was removed from the battlefield against his will. August 26, 2018. Suicide weekend, ? Hands up, that's McCain. 30 days from July 28th. Impossible, coincidence? No, we are in control. Big week ahead. So what Q in the military is saying is that as they court martial and as they take down these huge power players, and you got to understand, United States senators, and especially senators who have been in the swamp, right, growing, like big crocodiles for 40 years, they have a lot of power. But the military and Trump, because of the fact that they're operating under devolution, they have the law of war manual. We're not under conventional constitutional law right now. So you can take that and throw that right out the window. We are not under that law. We are under wartime military law. So let's break down this important Q drop. Number one, suicide weekend. I believe McCain took the coward's way out and chose suicide. Okay, because the military, they give you a couple choices. You could have firing squad, you can hang from the news, or if you prefer to take the coward's way out, you could put a bullet in your own head and commit suicide. But why did Q say suicide weekend when McCain died on a Saturday? Q loves to troll the enemy, and so does Trump. This Q drop was posted on Sunday, August 26th, the day after McCain's death. What's so special about that day? According to Newsweek, National Dog Day on Sunday has been celebrated every August 26th since 2004. Doesn't matter which day of the week it is. National Dog Day is celebrated on August 26th. Could be a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It doesn't matter. That's National Dog Day, August 26th. Since 2004, when it was founded by an animal advocate who wanted to raise awareness of the plight of animals in shelters and encourage adoptions. National Dog Day was on August 26th. McCain died the day before. Do you remember what Q said about McCain 2 months before that drop? Q drop 1650. Think Supreme Court vote to confirm. Think about No Name's actions. Every dog has its day. Enjoy the show. What was the action coming against No Name? Q was hinting to us in June that justice was coming for McCain on National Dog Day weekend. Okay? Q knew when they were going to be put John McCain to death because of his massive traitorous actions against the U.S. Trump then trolled the enemy after the leader of ISIS was killed by making specific dog references. And here we go. Donald J. Trump, October 28th, 2019. We have declassified a picture of the wonderful dog. Name was not declassified. That did such a great job in capturing and killing the leader of ISIS, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. He really went overboard on his dog references. Do you remember how he described Baghdadi's followers as scared puppies? And what did he say about Baghdadi? From Trump's remarks. Last night was a great night for the United States and for the world. A brutal killer, one who has caused so much hardship and death, has violently been eliminated. He will never again harm another innocent man, woman, or child. He died like a dog. He died like a coward. The world is now a much safer place. I don't think those dog references to Baghdadi were a coincidence at all. McCain was directly tied to Baghdadi, and the Q team wanted the enemy to know that we knew all about the Obama operation to support ISIS. Yes, folks, you heard it right there. Okay? The Obama administration was not fighting ISIS. They were supporting ISIS to raise hell in the Middle East. I believe when Trump said he died like a coward, he was also referring to McCain with his suicide. Number 2, Killbox 30, Killbox 28. Here's more proof that we controlled when McCain would face justice. Exactly 30 days, Q announced when McCain would face justice on July 25th, 2018, hands up, and he died 30 days later on August 25th, 2018. The military and Trump are in complete control of everything and everybody by virtue of devolution and the Law of War manual. But the 28 minutes was emphasized for a reason. Do you need more proof that we are in control? John McCain faced justice for his treason on our timing, and so will all the other traitors. The 28-minute marker in Q drop 1933 isn't just a delta, and what a delta is that it's from one time to another time, and it's the amount of time in between. That's what they call a delta. to the timestamp of the hands up. Q drops number 1706, which was posted at 7:28. It also connects to something even bigger. When exactly did McCain die? According to Arizona Central, John McCain, who endured more than 5 years as a prisoner of war in Vietnam, which he didn't, John McCain sold out his fellow prisoners for preferred treatment. I'm not saying that he wasn't a POW. He was a POW, but that son of a bitch sold out our country and gave them information for better treatment. He's a traitor. John McCain, who endured more than 5 years as a prisoner of war in Vietnam before becoming the 2008 Republican presidential nominee and serving Arizona for more than 30 years on Capitol Hill, died Saturday at age 81. McCain died at 4:28 p.m., his office announced. Okay? Now, even the announcements, when they announce, the military is even in control of John McCain's office and said, you will say that John McCain died at 4:28 p.m. so that it coordinates with the Q post, and that tells everybody that's paying attention that the military is in control. Q posts about it, and it's mathematically impossible for them to know the exact times and dates that these things would happen. Impossible? Just a coincidence? No, we are in control. Oh, you need more proof? Okay. Q post, 1850. Normal question mark. Pillbox not updated. Not seeking re-election. These senators. Bob Corker, Republican. Traitorous bastard. Jeff Flake, Republican. Traitorous bastard. Orrin Hatch, Republican. Traitorous bastard. These are rhinos. These are rhinos right here. We're not talking Democrats. We're talking about Republican traitorous bastards right here. And then No Name, who we know that's John McCain. Republican. Departure soon. And when they say departure, that means that they're going to be put to death after they were convicted in their military tribunal. Q listed the Republicans who are not seeking re-election, and McCain was one of them. But Q put in his post, departure soon, in what we call kill brackets, okay, which are these brackets right here. Why? Q then said something very specific to make it very clear what had happened, and that all the media stories describing McCain's death, they were just a cover story. A portion of Q Drop 1935, August 27th, 2018, 2 days after John McCain's death, okay, says this: Hillary Rotten Clinton election loss equals Clinton Foundation inflow, the stop of money in the laundering machine. Clinton Foundation inflow stop equals John McCain Institute inflow ramp. Okay. All the Clinton Foundation, the McCain Foundation, all these foundations, they're nothing but big money laundering operations. That's all they are. Okay? And they were stealing from the American people. How were they doing that? They were doing it through foreign aid. They were taking money. They'd give $1 billion to Senegal. And it would just so happen that Senegal would get $1 billion, and the McCain Institute would get $250 million of it. Okay, through their money laundering operation. Compare donors, okay, of these institutions. Everything can be traced back to American foreign aid. Is there a direct correlation? Of course. He did not depart on his own terms, John McCain, which means he said, you can hang from the noose, you can have a firing squad, or we'll give you a gun so that you can commit suicide. Take your pick. Those were the terms that the military gave him under the Law of War manual. They can. Departure soon on August 11th, 2018. Then Q posted that John McCain did not depart on his own terms 2 days after his death. John McCain faced justice and he did it on our timing. As Q has said, this will be our timetable and we will deliver transparency and prosecution. We control the chessboard. We removed one of al-Walid's biggest puppets in our government. And we covered Prince al-Walid, a multi-billionaire who controls a lot of big U.S. corporation. I'm just going to pull him up right now just to refresh. Okay. There's a satanic bastard here from Saudi Arabia. Okay. This guy controlled Iran as a proxy. Okay. This is who they're talking about. Is that John McCain was a puppet of al-Walid bin Talal al-Saud. This guy right here. That's what Joe Lang is talking about in this article, is the fact that that scumbag John McCain, he was getting all this money, okay, and selling his soul to the devil and selling out our country, just for fortune and what else? I don't even know. I mean, nobody needs that kind of money to live. He started al-Walid's money had stopped flowing into the Clinton Foundation because she was no longer a useful puppet. So al-Walid had to come up with a useful puppet. So he started funding McCain through his institute because he was now al-Walid's most important puppet within our government. McCain was a powerful senator at the time and was immediately activated. He was intimately involved in framing Trump for Russia collusion, which was complete bunk and false. Again, just attacking Trump because he knew he was coming after him. Using a phony dossier in order to have Trump impeached and removed from office. How did that work out for him? Not. Q Post 4830, October 7th, 2020. How much was McCain or the McCain Institute paid to peddle the Steele dossier that they tried? That was the document that they tried to say why Trump should be impeached for Russia collusion, which is nothing but a manufactured bullshit document. What is the going rate for a United States senator to knowingly push false, unverified intel to the FBI so that it would lend credibility? This is treason, everybody. You need to understand. This is treason. What you're doing is you are trying to overthrow the United States government, the very president of the United States of America. Now do you understand why they put him to death? This is treason. Conspiracy to overthrow the government is treason. You get put to death for stuff like that. That phony dossier had been pushed by the Hillary camp to the media for quite a while, but nobody would report on it because everyone knew it wasn't credible. That is until a U.S. Senator named John McCain personally asked the FBI to investigate whether it was true or not. And when he asked them to investigate it, it was with a wink and a nod, as we know. McCain gave the fake dossier, which was paid for by Hillary, the credibility it needed to launch an investigation and unleash the controlled media against Trump. More treason by McCain for knowingly trying to frame and remove a duly elected president. McCain was a very important player on the chessboard for Prince Al-Walid. Let's go back to that portion of Q Drop 1935 referring to John McCain. Direct correlation, he did not depart on his own terms. Think Flynn, done in 30, exactly 30. Why was Q connecting General Flynn to John McCain? There's a really good reason. McCain faced justice exactly 30 days after Q predicted he would. But did you know that Flynn is the reason that McCain would face justice? Just a coincidence that Q kept saying, done in 30, when referring to Flynn. Do you want proof that there is more happening in the background and that the justice phase is coming? Did you know there's a massive investigation going on behind the scenes, and it has been going on since 2017? Have you seen this portion of Q Drop number 2548? Who knows where the bodies are buried? Flynn is safe. We protect our patriots. NBC News. There appears, although the redacted documents do not make it completely clear, that there is a bracket, plus, separate criminal investigation going on outside of special counsel Robert Mueller's purview, plus, kill bracket, for which Flynn has been providing significant assistance. Markers are important. And when they talk about markers here in the Q Drop, that's Q when he marks up people like Flynn or special times or special dates. This is what they call markers. And Q says markers are important. Who knows where the bodies are buried? Flynn is safe. We protect our patriots. They tried to remove Flynn from the chessboard but failed because we protect our patriots. This is very important to understand. The Mueller investigation was a show trial in the narrative war and was used as a distraction while all the controlled media focused 24/7 on the Mueller investigation and what they thought would be the coming removal of Trump. It distracted the media from the real criminal investigations happening in the background. But NBC News reporting that there was evidence in court documents that there was a separate criminal investigation going on outside of special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation, and that Flynn has been providing significant assistance. The guy who knows where the bodies are buried. But did you catch that important clue by Q? Why did Q put separate criminal investigations going on outside of special counsel Robert Mueller's purview in triple target brackets and also add 3 plus signs before and after? Q is telling us that there were 3 criminal investigations happening behind the scenes outside of the 4th one, which was Mueller's show trial to distract people. Again, we're in an information war. Flynn was providing a significant assistance to those criminal investigations. He was head of all the intelligence agencies during the Obama administration before he got fired. I wrote about why he was fired in my article, Clowns in America. Flynn knew about all of the treason within the Obama administration, including the 16-year plan, along with the arming and funding of ISIS. Can you imagine the United States of America funding ISIS to kill American soldiers? It's absolutely disgusting, and I want these traitors to hang. He also knew all about Benghazi and why it became a massive cover-up. They're all related. He knew where all the bodies were buried, and the enemy feared him. But Q kept connecting Flynn to John McCain because both were major pieces on the chessboard. It's not a coincidence that after saying Flynn was giving significant assistance to an outside investigation, Q would then mention Think No Name. Both Q drops purposely connected Flynn and McCain. Why? A lot of the evidence that Flynn was providing to hidden investigations involved McCain. That's why Q connected Flynn to McCain and kept saying, done in 30. When referring to General Flynn, the number 30 was a significant marker and was used to connect McCain to the evidence that Flynn gave, which is going to be revealed in the future. We're gonna know what happened. Okay? And the Patriot Michael Flynn was providing the evidence for the Justice Department to take down these treasonous bastards. Transparency in prosecution, there is simply no other way. Why would Flynn plead guilty to something untrue? Define testimony. Define on the record. Who knows where the bodies are buried? Expand your thinking. Q connected Flynn and McCain again in this drop. Done in 30. Flynn. 30 in the targeted brackets. The enemy tried to frame General Flynn and put him in prison in order to shut him up. Instead, we trapped them into creating the very scenario that would lead to all the evidence of their crimes being entered into grand jury investigations, even though most of it was classified. Everything that the Q operation is doing, it has to be done according to the rule of law, whether it be the military law of war manual or for the items that don't, it has to conform to the constitutional law. Everything that the military is doing is by the book, by the law. Flynn became the star witness. There are a massive amount of sealed indictments, and Q told us to track them for a reason. Flynn knew everything. As head of the intelligence community under Obama, he knew every detail that Obama had classified as top secret in order to hide their treason. This forced the enemy to desperately try and remove him from the chessboard. But Q said Flynn is safe. Why was Flynn safe? Because the military and the True Justice Department, bringing true justice to the fore, nothing was going to happen to Flynn because he's the star witness. Q told us that Flynn was protected, but do you know why Q kept referencing done in 30 when mentioning Flynn? Have you seen this Q drop? On March 27th, an Anon said he wanted General Flynn freed. QAnon responded that it would be done in 30. Done in 30, the point arrow, house cleaning. The White House has secured the final stage. Media keywords, done in 30, house cleaning. What is the over-under done in 30 months? Don't miss the important part of this Q drop that I circled at the top. On March 27th, 2018, and Anand said he wanted Flynn freed, Q responded that it would be done in 30. Q then added something. Free Flynn. What is the over and under done in 30 months? This is an important clue. And Anand requested on 3/27/18 that Flynn be freed. Q then suggested it would be done in 30. What happened exactly 30 months later? General Flynn was pardoned by the President Trump. Okay, now keep in mind that Flynn didn't commit a crime. What he pleaded guilty because of the fact that he was able to bring evidence to the record. That's why General Michael Flynn pleaded guilty, is so that he could bring evidence to the court. General Flynn was pardoned by President Trump, and then Judge Emmett Sullivan was forced to dismiss all of his charges in December of 2020. It was exactly 30 months. Judge Emmett Sullivan was forced into retirement because he was corrupt in trying his best to convict. Now, forced into retirement, to me, that's a code name for military tribunal upcoming. Flynn, Q suggested that Sullivan would step down by March 2021, and he retired in February 2021. Just another coincidence? The military is behind the scenes forcing enemy players to submit. The enemy's pawns are being removed from the chessboard. But there's more. The date, March 27th, 18, in the Q drop was highlighted for another big reason. Do you remember my previous article titled, He's Not a War Hero? He is not a war hero, where I talked about John McCain being Trump's biggest obstacle in Congress against building the wall on the southern border? What big news story came out on 3/27/18? According to CNN Politics, President Trump has privately floated the idea of funding construction of a border wall with Mexico through the U.S. military budget in conversations with advisors, two sources confirmed to CNN on Tuesday. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders declined to weigh in when asked repeatedly on Tuesday at the daily press briefing about trying to get the military to fund the wall. I can't get into the specifics of that at this point, but I can tell you that the continuation of building the wall is ongoing, and we're going to continue moving forward in that process, Sanders said. However, no new wall is currently being built. Funds have only been appropriated to fix current fencing or build new fencing. John McCain and other members of Congress, including Pelosi and Schumer, were preventing Trump from building the wall. But Trump had scored a record amount of funding to rebuild the military. Trump had used his bully pulpit to get Congress to give him over $700 billion in new military spending after Obama had denigrated our military. Trump didn't increase the military budget just to rebuild the military. The plan was always to have the military build the wall because it was a national security issue. Q told us this was coming ahead of time. In Q Post 2593, national security had to be included for reasons I'm sure you can understand. Think green and red castle. Think military. Happy holidays. Here's the Trump tweet from this Q drop. The Democrats and President Obama gave Iran $150 billion and got nothing. But they can't give $5 billion for national security. and a wall. And understand that Trump used Twitter to go direct to the people and not have to fart around with the fake news. The wall was all about national security, and Q said, think green and red castle and think military. What was Red Castle? The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, who does the building of the wall. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was going to build the wall. Then Q connected more dots. Think green, Red Castle. Where was the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers located? In Green Castle, Indiana. A portion of Q Drop 2582. So, you see, folks, the Q plan and what Trump and the military are doing, there's over 4,900 drops where they're giving us information about the Q plan and what's going on behind the scenes. Nancy Pelosi said, you will not win. You didn't think that the largest military spending bill in history wasn't going to indirectly include funding for the wall, did you? Learn the Constitution. Reference vested powers of President of the United States when it comes to matters of national security. This was planned and forecasted as the border funding solution from the beginning. Anons had the proof long ago, but shining a light back then would have defeated the primary purpose of showing the public the real objective of the Democrats, the party of open borders, the elimination of ICE, elimination of security, defending the illegal aliens, on and on and on. Q says, these people are stupid. Trump built the wall by using his vested powers under the Constitution when it comes to national security and protecting the nation. All of this was planned from the beginning because, again, we have been at war since 2017 when Trump first entered office. Green Arrow going to Green Castle, Indiana. We build stuff for national defense, and that is the wall. Q first hinted at this plan way back in March of 2018. Okay, so that was their plan all along, was to use the military budget to fund the wall. The clock has been advocated. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Green Castle, Indiana, they're on their way. One of the Anons that follow Q, a Q follower figured it out one day later, said, Red Castle, Green Castle, hashtag QAnon decoded. Guess what the Army Corps of Engineers can build? Walls. And they just happen to be located in Green Castle, Indiana. So there were people following Q that could decode what the message was, and they did. Q had confirmed this decode by including it in drop number 2582 on December 11th, 2018. That's this right here. Trump also confirmed the plan in a post on Twitter. This also proved that Q was connected to Trump. We have just built this powerful wall in New Mexico, completed on January 30th, 2019, 47 days ahead of schedule. Many miles more now under construction. The military was always going to build the wall, but the traitors like McCain, Pelosi, and Schumer had to be exposed for their opposition to the wall. Again, when you're trying to use illegal aliens to overthrow the government, more treason. The Democrat Party's objective has always been open borders, eliminating ICE, and supporting illegals. Trump had to show the American people that these people didn't support border security at all. It was just a scam. He started by inviting them to the White House for discussions without telling them that the press would be there to cover the meeting. Trump exposed them to the American people. According to the Daily Caller, as Tuesday's White House talks between President Trump, Rep. Nancy Pelosi, and Senator Chuck Schumer turned into an on-camera debate on border wall funding, it soon became clear that both Democratic politicians would have been much more comfortable having this discussion away from the public view. Why? Too much transparency. Talks were going well until Pelosi used the words Trump shutdown to describe the government shutdown that could happen if a deal wasn't reached. As the two sides debated the issue, both Democratic leaders expressed their desire to talk privately more than once. Trump, on the other hand, seemed to relish the debate, even using the word transparency to describe it. God forbid there be transparency from these crooks. The enemy's worst fear is transparency. Trump knows that and constantly puts a spotlight on their hypocrisy in the narrative war. Again, we're in a war. It's over the narrative. We're in an information war. Transparency and prosecution. There's simply no other way. Trump used a government shutdown narrative to focus the American people's attention on the border wall and illegal immigration. How damaging was it to the Democrats? They were forced to go public in order to try and turn the momentum that Trump created for building the wall. Do you remember when Pelosi and Schumer held a televised speech together in response to Trump's public address on border security? They looked like an SLN skit and were widely mocked with memes. I'm going to take a minute, I want you to understand the information war. The will of the people is a strong force. But when they make decisions based upon bullshit, like we have been living in the Matrix, Trump found a way to expose their hypocrisy and their bullshit. So when he took their shorts down to their ankles and exposed them, it was so bad. Public sentiment, and they track this every second of every day. They knew just by the searches for building the wall on Google and searches for, where are they building the wall and everything, they knew that Trump had kicked their ass. So they were forced to go on TV and give this stupid, SLN skit, trying to turn the tide on the damage. Even the Huffington Post admitted it was a massive fail. Pelosi and Schumer become instant memes after response to Trump's border wall speech. Look at that. Oh my. And this Nick Barnacle tweeted out, "This is what you look at when you get back at 4 a.m. and your parents are still up." They walked right into Trump's trap. Trump set the table. You were either for building the wall or you were against it. Here's the relevant parts of their speech together. Speaker Pelosi. But the president is rejecting these bipartisan bills which would reopen government over his obsession with forcing American taxpayers to waste billions of dollars on an expensive and ineffective wall. A wall he always promised Mexico would pay for. Well, as an American, I'm willing to pay for a wall to keep us safe. Senator Schumer, my fellow Americans, we address you tonight for one reason only. The President of the United States, having failed to get Mexico to pay for its ineffective, unnecessary border wall, and unable to convince the Congress or the American people to foot the bill, has shut down the government. Do you know what both these people have around their homes? They have a wall. Why do they have a wall? Because they're very effective, they're very necessary, and they provide protection. Okay? But God forbid, they don't want protection for you and your family. They want protection from them and their family. They're treasonous bastards, are no good, and they need to go to jail or get hung. My fellow Americans, there's no challenge so great that our nation cannot rise to meet it. We can reopen the government and continue to work through disagreements about policy. No, that's just bait and switch bullshit. We can secure our border without an expensive, ineffective wall. Excuse me 1 second. And we can welcome legal immigrants and refugees without compromising safety and security. None of us are against legal immigrants or refugees. What we're against is somebody just coming into this country as an illegal alien. We have no idea who you are, where you came from, or why you're here. You only get to come in under certain pretenses. So again, just more lies and diversion and you know, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer bullshit. The symbol of America should be the Statue of Liberty, not a 30-foot wall. Oh, doesn't that sound like a platitude? They couldn't be more clear to the American people. They were never going to support building a wall to secure the southern border because that didn't play into the 16-year plan. Trump now controlled the border security narrative. The Democrats have been on the defensive ever since, and building the wall has become even more popular with the American people. No, Nancy, he did win, and you lost. There's a reason that border security and finishing the wall is now one of the top 2 issues in the coming election. It is destroying the Democrat Party. There's no doubt now among the large majority of the American people that the Democrat Party is all in favor of open borders and free benefits for illegals, paid for by yours truly, you, the American taxpayer. John McCain was all for that too with the amnesty bill he was always pushing in Congress. McCain was removed from the chessboard, and the wall he tried to prevent from being built was funded and built by our military. The enemy tried to take out General Flynn, but we took down John McCain instead. He was one of al-Walid's biggest puppets. Let's go back to QDrop 4770. What is the over-under done in 30 months? 3/27/18. Done in 30. The kill box 30 was a marker. Oh, hang on a second. I think I went backwards here. Yep, I need to go forward right here. What huge story came out 30 days later and was revealed in the Q drop? It was a huge story focused on Flynn. What was completed and released today? Done in 30, expand. According to Fox News, House Intelligence Committee Republicans, in their newly released report concluding their Russia investigation, seemed to back up reports that FBI agents did not think ex-White House National Security Advisor Michael Flynn lied to them, despite his eventual plea for making false statements. Michael Flynn fell on the sword for his country. He's a patriot. He did that so that the military and the Department of Justice could bring in the requisite evidence that Michael Flynn and the NSA had and still had. Among the 44 findings in the report was a line stating that the Federal Bureau of Investigation agents did not detect any deception during Flynn's interview. The Washington Examiner's Byron York first reported earlier this year that fired FBI boss James Comey had briefed lawmakers amid allegations. Flynn had lied to the Vice President Pence about conversations with then Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak and speculation he may have misled FBI agents who questioned him in 2017, January. Comey reportedly told lawmakers at the time that agents who interviewed Flynn did not believe he lied in that January 24th meeting and that any inaccuracies in this account were unintentional. The evidence of Flynn being innocent of the charges was revealed in a congressional report 30 days after the Annan had requested that Flynn be freed. Just another coincidence? Don't miss that last important data point. Comey testified to Congress that the FBI agents who interviewed Flynn did not believe he lied. The media narrative was the opposite of that. Was it purposeful? Was it a helpful distraction? And is that why Flynn was sacrificed on the narrative side of the chessboard? Did you notice that neither Trump or Pence defended Flynn or fought the accusations? They didn't because it was part of the plan to bring into the record all of the evidence that they needed to hang these treasonous bastards. They readily accepted his resignation, and we all know that Trump would have fought tooth and nail and not allowed him to resign unless it played into what Trump needed Flynn to do. And he needed Flynn to fall on the sword, okay, for a distraction and also to bring evidence into the justice system. Why? Was he made to look weak when he was actually strong? The plan was to charge Flynn with a crime that he didn't commit in order to allow him to become an expert witness and give testimony to several investigations exposing treason during the Obama administration. Here are some specific posts referring to Flynn that paint a completely different picture from what we all witnessed in the media war. Flynn was not in danger. He was actually given cover in order to distract the enemy from what he was really doing. We all knew this day would come. We knew people would need a guide. We all have a part to play. We knew Flynn would be challenged. Part of the plan? Yes. Flynn Jr. did not lie to VP. It's timing. It's the plan. Signal sent. Moves and counter moves. The role outside of the White House. What was Flynn's role outside of the White House? Lost house, funds for legal, beat up. You are watching a movie. We all have a part to play. We knew Flynn would be challenged. Part of the plan, yes. Flynn was playing a part, and it was all planned ahead of time by our military. They pushed out media stories in the narrative war to keep the focus on Flynn's trial and give the impression that the enemy was winning. For example, quote unquote, he lost his house in order to fund his legal defense, and he was constantly beat up in the media as a traitor. I actually gave him $100 through a request of Sean Hannity, but just saying. They wanted the media, the enemy of the people, to think that they were destroying Flynn. All a distraction. Don't miss an important clue in this drop. It was focused on Flynn, so why was the White House position in targeted brackets? Trump knew Flynn would be targeted by the enemy as his top national security advisor. Why not play into the narrative by charging Flynn with a crime that he didn't commit? That would allow him to take a different role outside of the limelight. That is why Q asked the question, what's his role outside of the White House? From a portion of Q Drop 1008. Why is Mueller going after inside plans? Flynn is safe. Define witness. Can a witness hold a position of power, of influence, while it's an ongoing investigation? No. So they had to put him aside, and they had to let him be the witness. The man who knew where all the bodies were buried and where all the treason was committed was the patriot Michael Flynn. Isn't that an interesting question? Can a witness hold a position of power or influence while their trial is ongoing? No. Is Flynn still heavily involved in the background investigations today? Yes. Is he doing more than just giving significant assistance as a witness? Damn right. How about one more Q drop that will help lead us into more evidence of treason by Al Walid's puppets? Here's a portion of a Q drop that was posted on the same day that Prince Al Walid was arrested in Saudi Arabia, which is focused on Flynn. Flynn, what is Flynn's background? The head of the NSA, the collection agency of all intelligence. What was his rank? General. Was he involved in intel operations? Yes. What access or special privileges did he have? He had all access and all special privileges to the most sensitive classified information on the planet. Why is this relevant? Set up. Who wins? Who becomes exposed? Who knows where the bodies are buried? Who has the access? What is military intelligence? Who was part of military intelligence during the Barack Obama term? Who was fired during the Barack Obama term from military intelligence? Why is this relevant? Reread the complete crumbs graphic. Paint the picture. Disinformation exists and is necessary. This was all set up. Disinformation exists and is necessary. This is a real war. Flynn was involved in intelligence operations and had access and privilege to a lot of hidden information. Who becomes exposed? The exposure phase is an important part of the plan, and transparency must happen before prosecution. Is it a coincidence that Obama fired Flynn considering everything that he knew? There are no coincidences. If you think Flynn has been removed from the chessboard, think again. This Q drop was 3 days before Prince Al Walid's arrest in Saudi Arabia. Military intelligence, no media, no leaks. How many military intelligence generals have been in and out of the White House in the past 30 days? It's not a coincidence that you've got all these military generals and all these military intelligence people, okay? They're building the case. They're putting together the sealed indictments. Focus on Flynn. Background and potential role. What is the common denominator in terms of military backgrounds close to POTUS? This has been a military operation from day one. You don't need the clowns in the Senate. You don't need the clowns in the House of Representatives. You don't need them. This is a military operation. No media leaks. How many military intelligence generals have visited Trump at the White House in the past 30 days? Yet another 30-day reference. Focus on Flynn. Background and potential role. Remember, this drop about Flynn was in December of 2017, and Flynn had resigned from the Trump administration in disgrace back in February of 2017 and was then charged with a crime. Q suggested that Flynn is playing a role in the background. Flynn was still heavily involved. The charges in the court case were all a cover, a distraction to fool the media. Do you believe me? What else happened 30 days after the March 27, 18 date in the earlier Q drop? Done in 30? Question mark. Another Q drop referring to General Flynn. Q drop 1282, April 27th, 2018. And this is a picture of the two lovebirds, Peter Strzok and I can't remember his name. Let's see. It should be in here. Expand your thinking. Who interviewed Flynn? It was this guy and this woman right here. What redacted texts were released today? Coincidence? Why did Flynn take the bullet? Because it was just a rubber bullet. Lawmakers make public. Lawmakers learned Gmail draft comms yesterday. Lawmakers go hunting. What is the purpose of a laser pointer? You have more than you know. Comms understood? Question mark. Flynn purposely took the rubber bullet to allow him to give classified evidence to investigators in Congress, who then helped fight the narrative war. He was the laser pointer pointing to the criminals that he knew where the bodies were buried. And now the hunters, which was all these scumbag politicians and people abusing the Department of Justice, they went from being the hunters to now they're being hunted. Lawmakers learned Gmail draft comms yesterday. The enemy were using Gmail draft folders in order to communicate securely with each other. Flynn was the one who revealed that information. So all their crimes and all their treason were captured in their Gmail email accounts where they would put together a draft. That's how they would communicate. They would never send the email, but the other people would be able to log into their account for them to see what message that they were sending. So all the money laundering, all that treason, all that conspiracy, we have it all. What came out in the IG report? That's the Inspector General report. James Comey Gmail. They all had them. Reread the drops, private emails, convicting Hillary Rodham Clinton and convicting themselves. So they couldn't convict Hillary Rodham Clinton about the private emails because they'd be pointing the finger right at themselves. Why did the entire Hussein administration use private emails? ES is key. What a wonderful day. ES is key. ES equals Eric Schmidt. He is one of the founders of Google, and it is also the guy who helped the CIA set up their 7 supercomputers named after the 7 dwarfs in Snow White. I wrote about that in my article titled Everything is Connected and how it was tied to Al Walid, who Trump nicknamed Dopey. And he nicknamed him Dopey for a reason. Eric Schmidt also helped the enemy set up Gmail drafts to communicate secretly with each other, or so they thought. And Eric Schmidt was one of the founders of Google. Okay, and so the Google email, he, for treasonous reasons, helped the enemy set up these Gmail drafts to communicate. And so he's going down big time. The evidence in those Gmails they were hiding will convict them of treason. These Gmail communications were revealed in an Inspector General report because Flynn was also helping the IG investigations. The NSA captures all electronic communications. Nothing is ever deleted. We have it all. A massive sting operation is happening in the background with multiple investigations. Q told us early on in the drops what was happening in the background. This next Q drop is very important, and there's a good reason. The first word in this drop is SCIF, a sensitive compartmented information facility. This is a top secret operation, and it's one of the reasons that a SCIF was installed at Mar-a-Lago. And a SCIF is a room where I actually built a SCIF at Griffiths Air Force Base in Rome. Well, a SCIF is a super secret room where literally it's got walls that are like 3 foot thick, and it's got lead, and it's got it's got all kinds of stuff, so that no communications can get in and no communications can go out. Whatever is said in the SCIF stays in the SCIF. Q Post 14, October 31, 2017. Military intelligence. What is state secrets and how is this held in the Supreme Court? What must be completed to engage military intelligence over other three-letter agencies? State secrets. National security. Why is this relevant? What was Flynn's background? Why is this relevant? Why did Admiral Rogers from the NSA meet Trump privately without authorization from the Obama administration? Does POTUS now know where the bodies are buried? Does POTUS have the goods on most of the bad actors? Yep. The state secrets designation, which has been upheld at the Supreme Court, is now being used to hide the military investigations happening in the background. Did you catch that important word in this drop? Completed. What must be completed to engage military intelligence over all the other three-letter intelligence agencies? For the military intelligence to take over these investigations from the other three-letter agencies, you need to prove that those agencies are corrupted, they're beyond repair, and that there is a threat to the survival of the Republic and the Constitution. That would put us in a state of war. This is why I keep telling people that Trump became a wartime president the day he was sworn in, January 21st, 2017. We've actually been in a declared and never-ending war on terror since 2001, technically. I'm going to stop for a minute, and I want everybody to understand, why did Trump have to institute martial law and devolve the government? Donald Trump was stepping into a war day one. What must occur to allow for civilian trials? You're going to love this. Do you remember when Q said that Senator Graham was activated? He then asked these questions at the Brett Kavanaugh hearing when Brett Kavanaugh was being considered by Trump to be a Supreme Court justice. Listen to this. Okay, so, and I'm going to continue reading in a second, but I want everybody to hear what Senator Graham is saying. What Senator Graham is saying is that as a Supreme Court judge, you can be expecting that there is going to be a massive, massive amount of enemy combatants, treasonous bastards who have sold our country out, that they're going to have to be dealt with. And Senator Lindsey Graham wanted to make sure that Brett Kavanaugh knew and understood that we are going to be dealing with these treasonous bastards differently than common law. Don't miss that. Enemy combatants who commit treason can be tried under military tribunals, and they can also be executed. Isn't that interesting? There are a lot of players who are going to be designated as enemy combatants and face charges of treason. Justice is coming. Why was the F in the kill box in the acronym SCIF in targeted brackets? In almost every Q drop that I've seen, the kill bracket F in targeted brackets stands for the word foreign. It makes perfect sense that this SCIF meeting was focused on a big foreign subject matter that involved military intelligence. Why? Two major players in this war were both mentioned in this drop and taking part in this meeting: General Flynn and Admiral Mike Rogers. Both were heavily involved in military intelligence. The subject of this meeting was very specific, and we were given a clue. Why did Admiral Rogers, the head of the NSA, meet Trump privately without authorization? According to the Washington Guardian, Joe diGenova spoke about an Obama administration official who actually had integrity, a man who noticed that something was amiss and acted. He discovered that American citizens were being spied upon. In fact, this man who traveled to Trump Tower on November 17, 2016, to brief then President-elect Donald Trump that communications from the building, his building, the Trump building, were being tapped. He did not notify his superior, then Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, scumbag, beforehand. diGenova said, "There's a hero. His name is Admiral Mike Rogers. He was the head of the National Security Agency. Admiral Mike Rogers is a major player in this war, and he is a true hero, unlike John McCain. Rogers knew that Clapper was also corrupt as hell, so he didn't tell him. And that he was going to warn Trump about the illegal spying by the Obama administration. This is treason, people. You don't get to go see Judge Judy. You get to go see the three JAG justices when you commit these crimes. That F in the kill bracket and targeted brackets in the previous Q drop also connects this to this next drop in a big way. Q drop 3784, January 23rd, 2020. D-Class, COC, President of the United States to Barr, then to Durham. Classified intel provided by Five Eyes, non-Five Eyes as needed. Does Durham want to hold, freeze public D-Class due to criminal nature of the probes? Think GJ material. What did the investigation begin? When did the investigation begin? When did the investigation really begin? Nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. Slow drip and then the flood. This is all about declass of information in the chain of command. The information was declassified by Trump and is being used in grand jury criminal investigations. Did you catch the F in the kill bracket and what it was specifically connected to? Classified intelligence provided by Five Eyes and non-Five Eyes as needed. Flynn and Rogers were providing both FEEY and non-FEEY intelligence as needed. They were providing all the classified evidence on the illegal spying operation by the Obama administration against Trump, using foreign intelligence agencies to hide their treason. According to the Federalist, the U.S. intelligence community asked fellow members of the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance to surveil Trump's associates and share the intelligence they acquired with U.S. agencies. Sources told a small team of independent reporters who broke the story yesterday. This is treason. This is treason. This is conspiracy to overthrow a duly elected government. This is serious stuff, people. According to the authors, multiple credible sources said that the United States intelligence community, including the Central Intelligence Agency, illegally mobilized foreign intelligence agencies to target Trump advisors long before the summer of 2016. The Obama intelligence community, led by the CIA, was coordinating spying on the Trump campaign by foreign intelligence agencies, and it was happening long before anybody thought it was. More from the Federalist. Until now, the official story has been that the FBI's investigation began after Australian intelligence officials told U.S. officials that a Trump aide had boasted to an Australian diplomat that Russia had damning material about Democrat presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. That probe, dubbed Crossfire Hurricane, launched on July 31st, 2016. Although Special Counsel John Durham would later conclude the Australian tip failed to justify the investigation into the Trump campaign. Australian intelligence was heavily involved in framing Trump for Russian collusion. They weren't the only ones. The Crossfire Hurricane probe by the FBI was only a part of this treasonous conspiracy. But how early was Trump being targeted by foreign intelligence agencies on behalf of the Obama administration? However, British intelligence sources began targeting Trump on behalf of American intelligence agencies possibly as early as 2015, according to Tuesday's Blockbuster article. Several outlets had previously reported that the British government Communications Headquarters, or GCHQ, had discovered alleged ties between Trump and the Russian government. British intelligence was spying on Trump and his associates back in 2015. Did it begin soon after he announced that he was running for president? More from the Federalist. In truth, the U.S. intelligence community asked the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance to surveil Trump's associates and share the intelligence they acquired with U.S. agencies. The journalists reported their sources as saying, with the Five Eyes nations being United States, United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. Those were the 5 countries that had an agreement to share intelligence with each other going back to the Civil War, or the Cold War. The agreement was called Five Eyes, FVEY. Obama and Brennan decided to use this shared intelligence agreement to get around the law against the CIA spying on American citizens by using foreign intelligence agencies that were trying to avoid any congressional oversight. They weren't just illegally spying on the Trump campaign to frame him, they were also spying on candidate Ted Cruz, members of Congress, and the media. That is treason. Both Rogers and Flynn were providing this evidence to several grand juries. The Obama administration had been spying on his political opponents for a long time. He is known as Renegade by the Secret Service. That was his code name. It was happening long before the 2016 election, and they were scrambling to cover up this treasonous conspiracy. That's why they framed Flynn. Just going to play this quick. That's treason, my friends. Congress learned that the illegal spying when the transcripts were released of Flynn talking to the Russian ambassador. There was no record of those transcripts through the regular channels, which proved they came from the Five Eyes intelligence sources. And guess who else has strong ties to Five Eyes? Did you know that John McCain was also tied to the Five Eyes operation spying on Trump? He's right in the middle of everything because he was a major Al-Walid puppet. All assets were deployed against Trump. What role did John McCain play? He immediately engaged Trump in the narrative war. According to the National Sentinel, this feud between Senator John McCain and President Trump is getting out of hand, and frankly, it's the senator who is at fault for keeping it alive. His near-daily jabs at the president are not only frequently personal, they are frequently distracting and frequently wrong. The most recent one involves McCain demanding, mind you, that Trump either provide evidence that he was under electronic surveillance by the Obama administration at Trump Tower or retract his claim. McCain wasn't outraged that the Obama administration might be spying on his political opponents. He immediately accused Trump of lying. That was another purposeful and coordinated narrative deployment by the enemy. If his predecessor violated the law, President Obama violated the law. We've got a serious issue here, to say the least, McCain told CNN's State of the Union program, while pointing out that he himself has no reason to believe that the allegations are true. Well, that's because you're implicated. McCain then challenged Trump to offer proof. I also believe that the President of the United States could clear this up in a minute, said the Arizona Republican. All he has to do is pick up the phone, call the director of the CIA and the director of national intelligence, and say, okay, what happened? Because they certainly should know whether the former President of the United States was wiretapping Trump Tower. And they did. But this sting operation would be going on for another 7 years after this. And they were going to bring the evidence at the appropriate time. It just happens to be that it was going to be several years later. And John McCain had his dog day. McCain already knew that the CIA was involved in spying on Trump and also knew that it was being carried out by foreign intelligence agencies to prevent Congress or the public from knowing about it. From the National Sentinel, in a piece by Sarah Carter and John Solomon at Circa News, the two investigative journalists claim unequivocally that sources revealed to them that a Foreign Intelligence Act court issued a warrant in connection to a counterintelligence investigation into possible Russian interference in the U.S. elections. That FBI investigation included briefly electronic surveillance of a server located at Trump Tower, but no evidence of any link between Russia, U.S. election tampering, and Trump or his team was ever found. The FBI investigation included evidence from the FISA court that a server at the Trump Tower was being spied on. They found no evidence of collusion. This became public information, and McCain never offered an apology to Trump for calling him a liar. But there's a bigger connection. The information leaked regarding former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's and then Jeff Sessions' discussions with Russian officials had to come from some form of intelligence surveillance. Now, either that surveillance was legally ordered, as it appears it was, based on the Circa news account, or it was illegally ordered. But either way, since the investigation at one point touched on the presidential campaign of a political rival, do you really think it's possible that President Obama didn't know that presidents are normally in the FISA loop? This is key. The Obama administration was already illegally spying on its political opponents through Five Eyes. They were not going through the proper legal channels, which include the FISA courts. This is what led to the bungled conspiracy to frame people like Carter Page and George Papadopoulos in order to make the whole thing look legitimate. It was the cover-up. They desperately needed FISA warrants on someone connected to Trump to hide the treason. That's why they went with a fake dossier as the basis for the warrants, even though they knew the material in the dossier couldn't be verified and wasn't believable. True heroes like Flynn and Rogers forced the enemy to accelerate their plans, which made it a lot easier to expose the conspiracy. How? Admiral Rogers getting caught informing Trump that his campaign was under surveillance was already part of the plan. It was purposeful. And Trump going public about it forced Obama and Brennan to cover their tracks. That acceleration led to a whole bunch of critical mistakes that have exposed the conspiracy. We control the chessboard and always have. Don't believe me? When did the spying operation by the Obama administration really begin? Was it in 2015 or was it much earlier? How long had Obama and Brennan been spying on Americans using Five Eyes? Here's something I bet nobody remembers that I will get more into in my next article. Look at this Twitter post by Trump way back in 2013, long before he ever declared he was running for president. Not since Watergate have we been going through a time like this. Benghazi, IRS, wiretapping of AP news journalists. No. The Obama administration got caught wiretapping the Associated Press way back in 2013. Do you think Trump and the military didn't already know that the Obama administration was spying on their political opponents using Five Eyes when he decided to run for the presidency? I think they planned for it. But why would Trump connect Benghazi to the IRS scandal and the wiretapping of the Associated Press? Everything is connected. And there's a reason that Trump compared it to Watergate. Q did too. This is from Drop 4771, September 25th, 2020. And it's a drop that's comparing Obamagate to Watergate. I started, and I'm going to end this article with John McCain. We call him John McStain. He was right in the middle of all of it. He often gets overlooked in the Obama spying operation for a reason, but he is directly tied to Five Eyes. In my next article, I will reveal how McCain is involved with Five Eyes and why the Obama Spygate scandal is much bigger than Watergate. There's a reason that it's centered around Benghazi. Benghazi is going to connect a lot of dots. If you enjoyed this contribution to Badlands Media, please consider checking out more of Joe's work for free at Joe Lang's Substack. Joe Lang does outstanding work. And the reason I took so much time to go through this article that Joe Lang wrote is that I want to give you an idea about the magnitude of the sting operation that the U.S. military and Trump are conducting. This involves arresting between 500,000 and 1 million people for crimes all the way from treason to rigging elections to abuse of power, corrupt judges. It just child sex trafficking, drug trafficking, conspiring to overthrow the government. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. The Lord is about to set the earth free from these satanic globalists who tried to keep us in slavery for all eternity. This gives you a very clear insight into the types of crimes that these people were committing. So again, just to follow up or to try to paint a picture for you with the magnitude of what we're talking about, of what's coming, and the reveal of this sting operation and all these people going to jail, it is massive. Thank you for joining me live today. Again, please like my videos, subscribe, share, and I hope you enjoyed our warm-up to September 21st. Thanks for joining us.